One of these techniques in the higher level is called transference of consciousness. It is a technique in which a person is trained and then in turn trains themselves how, at the moment of death, to consciously direct their mind stream out of the body and into a new body. This is extremely difficult, but it is possible. It has been done, and it can be done. But it requires a very rigorous lifetime of training, which, quite honestly, most of us simply don't have the willpower to do. What that technique illustrates is the potential that we have to manage life and death. And that potential is there if we choose to develop it. Nonetheless, these teachings can still help us, even if we don't have the willpower to reach that level. Even if our sole intention is to avoid as much suffering as we can. For example, at the moment of death, no one here really would want to go to hell. I know a lot of people love the concept of hell, and they talk about it, and they listen to music, and they claim to be black magicians or vampires, and they love what they call death music. But the simple reality is, if they experience the reality of hell, they will not want to be there. As grave as our suffering can be in the physical world, it is 1,000 times sweeter than the suffering in the lower worlds. And as we explained in previous lectures, hell exists, heaven exists, and we go to one or the other depending on the conditioning of our mind, according to the contents of our mind. In other words, our karma, what we deserve. Now, don't start thinking that, well, I didn't do much that was bad, so maybe I'll only be there for a couple of days. I wish it were like that, but it's not. We've had many bodies. For all of us, it's more than 100 in humanoid bodies. And we have a lot of karma to answer for. A lot of pride, a lot of envy, a lot of anger, a lot of lust. And that has to be purified from our consciousness. So we will enter into those worlds and gradually descend from level to level into deeper and deeper and more intense applications of pressure and heat, which pulverize the defects that we have. It is not pleasant. If you've ever had a nightmare, you've tasted it. It is extremely unpleasant. Many people ask, are the souls conscious of being in hell? Are they aware of the suffering? And the question is absolutely yes. The consciousness has to be freed. The nature of consciousness is to perceive. It is to be aware. That is its nature. But we've trapped it in defects, in vices. So when that soul, that consciousness passes through hell, and hell is pulverizing those vices to free the soul is aware of that and suffers. It's painful. And it lasts as long as it takes to destroy those defects. Hundreds of years, thousands of years. Look into your own mind. What kind of defects do you find there? And how hard are they? How deep? How strong? That will give you an indication of what you have to look forward to if you don't eliminate them now on your own. It's very serious business. Gradually, all the souls that enter into the hell realms are brought through that great recycling machine of nature. And all the forces of nature work to pulverize the defects until at the end, depending on the karma of that soul, it is projected out of it clean and able to start again in a new cycle of evolution, in another age. Remember also that time is relative, as I was explaining. Time is relative. The experience of time in hell is extremely slow. You won't have your iPod, so you can pass the time. You won't have a good book to read or a TV to watch. You'll be revisiting and replaying the cause of the crimes. As an act of love, to purify those souls who are not capable of purifying themselves. Thus, hell is an experience that will be sustained as long as it's needed to clean the soul of its crimes. If you've ever had a nightmare, you've tasted it. It is extremely unpleasant. I stated earlier that some of us may have had some experience of a dream that is memorable, something related with heaven. We probably only remember one, maybe two, a small little thing. But if I said, have you ever had a nightmare? All of us will say, oh yeah. Even if we don't like thinking about it, if we start really reflecting, we'll remember a lot of nightmares. Why? Because those belong to Klipoth. A nightmare is the direct perception of what exists within our own mind, in hell, in us. A nightmare is real. It's not an illusion. When you're in a nightmare, it isn't an illusion. It's real. That monster that's chasing you, that devil that's coming after you, that beast, that threat, that danger, the violence, you don't experience that in a nightmare as an illusion. You experience it as real because in that level, it is. And that is our reality, psychologically, because our consciousness is trapped in hell. This does not change when we die. The physical body is just a garment that we will discard. The consciousness is eternal. It does not die. The consciousness will exist according to its level of being, according to its vibration. And if we observe ourselves from day to day and from night to night, we will see our level of being. That is where we live. That is where we belong. Right now, we're in hell. You can't change that with a belief. However beautiful a religion might be, belief in that religion will not save you. Belief in any outside force will not save you. And you can prove that right now. Start believing in something. Who among us has ever changed another person? And the problem is, if we keep trying to change the outside things and trying to add new beliefs and theories to our personality, we leave our fundamental factual reality unchanged, which is that the consciousness is trapped in pride, in lust, in fear, in envy. And when we die, we remain in the same situation, just without a physical body. In other words, when the physical body dies, our consciousness, which belongs in hell, will go to hell. It's simple. It's a law of nature. We go where we belong. Everything in nature goes into its proper place. What you see on this chart that shows the heavens and hells are levels of nature. The heavens correspond to regions of light that we can't perceive with our physical senses. And the hells also to opposed regions of light that we can't perceive with our physical senses. In other words, the heavens relate to ultraviolet levels of light, and the hells to infrared. Another thing to clarify for you is that these forms of light, these levels of existence, are not in some other place. They are right here. We just don't see it. Your consciousness can develop the ability to see it if you awaken.
Is there like a physical location?
For heaven and hell?
Right. For those that have mastered the psychological level of heaven.
Well, sure. Heaven and hell are places as well. But the entrance to them is psychological. They are actual places. Dante wrote the Divine Comedy, which describes heaven and hell, because he went there. He experienced it. He saw it. And the same is true of initiates from every tradition. The Aztecs wrote about it. They taught about it. The Greeks, the Tibetans, the Hindus. Every tradition in the world has had people that have experienced the realities of heaven and hell. But that experience begins here, physically. Begins here and now with who we are. And according to who we are, we can go there by that nature, by the very nature of who we are. Now, I'll give you an example. The key is the consciousness, as I explained. The key to go to either direction, heaven or hell, is how we use the consciousness. If we awaken our consciousness and eliminate the ego, then nothing in us belongs to hell anymore, and we belong to heaven. We will naturally rise there. So it's the law of nature, cause and effect. On the other hand, if we awaken our consciousness but do not eliminate the ego, we will go to hell, because the ego is still there and our consciousness is still in it, but awake. A person like that is a demon, a seer even, or a diviner, as the Bible calls them. It's very easy to awaken consciousness in Klipoth, because more or less 97% of our consciousness is already there. If a ball is 97% hanging on the edge of a precipice, how easy is that to push over? And now how easy is it to push back the other way? It's not. And that's our situation right now. This is why we are very, very explicit and very, very detailed in how we express this doctrine. You must be precise. You cannot allow any misunderstanding or vagueness in your comprehension of how to practice, because that a simple thing can lead you the wrong way. And usually those things that we just decide, oh, I don't believe that, that's where you're having a problem. Oh, I don't believe that. I don't accept that. Why? Based on what facts? This is the thing in Gnosis. We discard belief. We're not interested in belief. You can believe whatever you want, but if you seriously want to liberate your consciousness, you need to stop believing anything. Don't believe me. Don't believe Buddha. Don't believe Krishna, Jesus. Don't believe anyone, but trust your experience. You have to test it again and again and again and measure it based in facts. That's why we give so many practices, so that anyone can take these tools and put them to use. But if you don't use them, it's your will. It's up to you. Any other questions?
So if you go through the purification process, for example, would you incarnate into another body, or
Yeah, that gets really complicated.
where is it?
The process of being recycled by nature is very complicated and very painful because of how complicated and painful our mind is. Nature works in dimensions. So to try to explain this briefly, we know that the physical world is between the heavens and the hells. And everything physical has a psychological aspect because all the dimensions are interpenetrating. Right now we have these physical bodies, which are the sort of vessel or representative physically of the ego, right? And also of the consciousness. Everything that we are as a person, both positive and negative, is represented in the physical body. When that physical body dies, yeah, it's all in the book Hell, Devil, and Karma. It's explained there. It's true. When that physical body dies, all that energy of the psyche has to be handled by nature, both the good parts and the bad parts. The bad parts, of course, will be recycled in hell. And in some cases, there are physical components that help transmit that energy and manage it in the process of devolution. And generally, those are in the bodies of animals. Monkeys, pigs, dogs, rats, another example. And I'll give you my personal opinion. Please take this with a grain of salt, maybe a jar of salt. In my opinion, I have not confirmed this through any experience in the inner world, so please be aware of that. Don't spread this around like I'm saying this is the truth. It's my opinion, based on my perception thus far, that The way this humanity is processing animals for food, chicken, pigs, cows, is related to the process of hell that we are all headed into. All of those bodies of the chickens and cows and pigs and all the animals that are being tortured, the way they're being tortured now, has some direct correlation to the karma of this humanity and how the consciousness is being processed through nature. It wouldn't surprise me at all if those bodies are the vehicles through which the egos are flowing as they get dissolved. Because whatever's in that animal is suffering a lot. Wouldn't surprise me if that was our egos of pride and vanity and fear and envy in those bodies. It would make sense. But again, I haven't confirmed that. I'm just trying to understand how that situation can exist on this planet, because it's a horrifying situation. If you've ever seen inside of a meat plant or where they're raising these animals, it is utterly reprehensible. It should not be allowed. But it's happening, and it's been happening for decades, and it's getting worse. Why? There must be a reason in nature and in our karma for that to be happening. And to me, the two point at each other. The nature of our psyche, humanity's entering into hell, there might be a relation. Yes?
What about the animals that they're grass-fed and the planet like pretty and make meat?
I guess they have less karma, the animals that suffer less. But the point is that everything in nature has a function. Nothing is accidental. Every animal, every body, every physical body is processing energy in some way. And we're seeing a lot of suffering on this planet, not just in humanoids, but amongst the animals. And there's a reason for that. So I'm just trying to put together 2 + 2, and to me, it's sort of, they seem to relate. Padmasambhava, who brought Tantra to Tibet, stated, "Samsara is your mind's deluded form." Freedom from suffering, to be liberated, requires that we cut the cycle. That samsara stops. That's nirvana, means that, cessation. We explained this in the previous lecture. Nirvana is not just a place. It is a state of being. Because to abide in nirvana, your consciousness must vibrate at that level. We are here in this world now because this is the level of our psychology. We are where we are because we deserve it, because that is our level. To live in nirvana, you must be psychologically in that level. We can achieve it now. Unless we've done some very serious work and very rigorous sacrifice for others, work on our ego and sacrifice for others, we cannot expect a vacation. Our karma is too strong and the ego is too strong. We should expect hell and prepare and do everything we can to avoid it. But don't assume just because you're a Gnostic student that you're going to go to heaven. Not going to happen. I promise you. Nothing is given for free. You can belong to any group you want. It doesn't give you anything. You can have all the books in your house and have a beautiful altar and go to school every week. Good for you. Doesn't prevent you from going to hell. Hell is related to the contents of your mind, the contents of your heart. So if we do die and have to pay that karma by processing through the infernal worlds, then that will be our experience after death. But that is not forever. This is a great misconception propagated by many religions nowadays, that heaven and hell are forever. They are not. The places exist forever, yes. But the souls don't stay there forever. It would make no sense to have to pay forever for something. God is not a tyrant who wants people to suffer for eternity. God is a God of love. Pure love. Hell was established as an act of love to purify those souls who are not capable of purifying themselves. Thus, hell is an experience that will be sustained as long as it's needed to clean the soul of its crimes. If you've ever had a nightmare, you've tasted it. It is extremely unpleasant. Many people ask, Are the souls conscious of being in hell? Are they aware of the suffering? And the question is absolutely yes. The consciousness has to be freed. The nature of consciousness is to perceive. It is to be aware. That is its nature. But we've trapped it in defects, in vices. So when that soul, that consciousness passes through hell, and hell is pulverizing those vices to free the soul is aware of that and suffers. It's painful. And it lasts as long as it takes to destroy those defects. Hundreds of years, thousands of years. Look into your own mind. What kind of defects do you find there? And how hard are they? How deep? How strong? That will give you an indication of what you have to look forward to if you don't eliminate them now on your own. It's very serious business. Unless we've done some very serious work and very rigorous sacrifice for others, work on our ego and sacrifice for others, we cannot expect a vacation. Our karma is too strong and the ego is too strong. We should expect hell and prepare and do everything we can to avoid it. But don't assume just because you're a Gnostic student that you're going to go to heaven. Not going to happen. I promise you. Nothing is given for free. You can belong to any group you want. It doesn't give you anything. You can have all the books in your house and have a beautiful altar and go to school every week. Good for you. Doesn't prevent you from going to hell. Hell is related to the contents of your mind, the contents of your heart. So if we do die and have to pay that karma by processing through the infernal worlds, then that will be our experience after death. But that is not forever. This is a great misconception propagated by many religions nowadays, that heaven and hell are forever. They are not. The places exist forever, yes. But the souls don't stay there forever. It would make no sense to have to pay forever for something. God is not a tyrant who wants people to suffer for eternity. God is a God of love. Pure love. Hell was established as an act of love to purify those souls who are not capable of purifying themselves. Thus, hell is an experience that will be sustained as long as it's needed to clean the soul of its crimes. So this is a very serious topic. And when all of those debts are paid, the soul is freed from that realm in order to begin again a new cycle.